Hi everybody, I'm here with Daithí Ó Fallamháin, who's running for Irish Freedom Party in the Mayo constituency. I'm now in Mayo, I was in Roscommon. And we're just going to talk about his campaign and many other things, I'm sure. So thanks for joining me.
Nice to see you.
Nice one.
Good to be here.
So the first thing I want to ask you is how you got to end up running for the constituency, because I'm always interested in why people do that.
Yeah.
What makes you say, I'll do it?
Well, first of all, I wasn't planning at it. I was the come-on director out here. I was the come-on organizer.
Oh, okay.
And I'd been doing that for a couple of months. And I was hoping to find someone that would be better known to the area. We can talk about why that would be, but I was hoping to find someone that would have more connections.
Yeah.
And just better known generally and without my strange background. So I organized and I was putting out, and there were people interested. We have membership out here. But no one thought the election was coming right upon us, so, and it was over Christmas. So not a lot happened. And then the election was upon us. And there was no one else. And, well, to be fair enough, I was in Prague, and I got a call from Herman Kelly, and he says, "Are you willing to run?" And I said, "Of course I am. I'm willing to do whatever it takes for the party." And I said, "I'll come." And so he said, "Great." So I canceled my holiday. I came back on the Monday. I had registered on the Tuesday. I think it was the Tuesday. It's been a big week. And from then on, it's just been meeting people that I never knew I'd meet, and it's chaos.
So you cancelled your holiday while you were there?
I was there. And
Did you fly back early?
Yeah.
Oof, that's commitment, lads.
That is commitment. It's money where your mouth is kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you've come back and it's been hectic since?
It's been insane since. Well, the thing is, I'm not the best at my technology stuff. So
I know the feeling.
everything had to be set up. I had to put up a Facebook page. I had to get my Twitter account going and all this. And I had to keep my lady friend very happy while we were doing all this, having cut the holiday short. Yeah. But she's been great. She's done most of the work getting that stuff up. Any of the videos I've been taking, she's the one that's been on camera. And my mother's been doing wonderful things and circulating everything I need to be circulating. Yeah. There are people coming out of the woodwork now to help that I didn't know were there. But now that it's real, people are willing to do something. But the rest is just kind of, we can wait.
I really think that's good. People, even if someone's not guaranteed a win or this or that, who knows what happens, right? It's just the ethos of, let's say you decide to run, and then people come out of the woodwork to help you. Yeah. You meet people in the real world, not online kind of forums, which are okay in their own right. But it's just getting out there. It's a good thing in and of itself, I think. And then if you do well, brilliant on top of it,
Well, at this stage, I'm hoping to make a pretty good showing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of, Mayo is a difficult constituency. We've got Michael Ring, we've got Henda Kenny, so there are big names here that are well established. So it's,
But it's all about making ground as well, But and the next thing, well, first I want to thank you for this delicious glass of port, by the way. It has to be mentioned. But
it's Christmas. It's still Christmas.
Yeah, technically it's still Christmas. Yeah. If
in Russia or somewhere, it's still Christmas.
But the other thing is, people watching will be wondering about your accent. You've got the American twang. How did you come about that?
Well, the way I explain this one is my parents. My mother's from Westport. My father's from Castlebar. Yeah. So I know all about multiculturalism, right there. But they're typical people from their generation. They went to Chicago, and they went to England, and they went for here a while, and then they went back to America. Somewhere in there, I was born. And then they came back here, back to England, back to Chicago. So then they stayed for a while. Okay. So that's when I get the accent. Yeah. And they went to Los Angeles for a bit. Yeah. And we were living in Los Angeles, and at some stage I said, I don't want this. I'm Irish. I'm going home. And that's what I did. Yeah. So
that reminds me, actually, because I was looking at kind of your blurb online and just kind of looking into you a little bit, because we were talking, right? I might want to know something. And I saw the Irish Family Research Centre in there. Yeah. Yeah. What is that? Can I ask?
Okay. Well, I came back here when I was about 20, 21, and I was in a band for years. Yeah. Psychedelic rock band, hardcore, great stuff. But that kind of ran its course, and I went back to school, back to Galway, to university. Yeah. So I did my BA, and I got my Master's in Irish Studies. But because I had my Master's in Irish Studies, they were happy enough to take me on at the Family Research Centre for a while. So I was working there for a bit. And that's what that was, which I was quite happy with, actually.
But it's kind of genealogy, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what
and it's a kind of maybe tourists could check their genealogy, or is it?
Yeah, people say it's that, but it's a lot of local people too.
Is it too?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about. Well, this applies to locals, of course, as well, but for people, because aside from maybe that centre, just in general, we all know about the Americans and the various people from around the place who really want to look into their roots and their family tree to find it out. And now it doesn't strike me as much, maybe because I'm from here.
Yeah.
But when people are from maybe the New World, I'm curious if you have any opinions on why people from the New World, let's say Americans, want to find out where they're from, and kind of, what motivates that feeling.
Well, there's a strange sense of people think once you go to America you instantly become an American, and this is going to lead into all kinds of immigration issues. But the thing is, I remember being a very little kid, and I was growing up in an Italian neighborhood, and I was very aware that I was Irish. And there were certain times over a period of years where you can become American if you so choose, or if your family or your inclinations lead you the other way, you choose a different road. I went the other road, and so I think it just depends on families.
Yeah.
It also depends on who you end up mixing with.
Yeah.
I mean, the rule used to be in Chicago that, like, okay, first generation, maybe you're sticking to your own, as they like to call it. The Irish are marrying the Irish. Next generation, it's with the Polish or the Italians. You're sticking Catholic, kind of. And then after that, it would just...
Yeah, it becomes more and more... Right. I can't think of the word for it right now.
Yeah, without getting in trouble, kind of. Yeah. But yeah, it's just, you become more a part of what that is. And if you don't want that... Yeah. But I never really felt American. I always felt like I was Irish in America.
There is something curious about American identity, because China's in the news now. China has... And every story has a complicated situation. China has Han and this and that, and depends what you define as China. In Ireland, we have the Catholic Protestant divided country. But American identity, above all, I think, is the most curious of things, because it is a unique country. And, you do find there's this question of what actually is American. So they're in a different boat. They don't have that rootedness and connectedness that obviously Irish people do to some extent.
They have a constitution.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you stick with the Constitution, it's no problem. You're an American. And that's cool.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah.
But we're different.
But it's different for us, yeah. What would you say it means to be Irish? And that's something that I'm not looking for necessarily a definition, but when I ask you that question, what kind of pops into your head?
Well, it comes to me, like, with the same reason with the immigration thing. It comes to me as like, there is a story on this island. And there has been a people on this island for... Depending on who you read, it's been 3,500 years. There have been a people that we identify at least as the first Irish. Celts, whatever you want to call them, Gaels, okay. But there's been a people. There have been additions to that. There have been struggles, there have been in and out, but there's been a story through here, and it is still based on that people. And I know there's been additions, and that's okay. But it's still our story. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like what's happening now, because they're trying to crush the story. They're trying to introduce a completely different thing.
Yeah. It's very offensive when you think about it that way. As in just the simple idea, because people look at it like you have to be, and I don't like to lend legitimacy to a word like racist, because it's a weaponized word and all of that, but they make it so that it's like you're either fully on board with multiculturalism, extreme multiculturalism, or you're some rabid obsessed with other people and dislike other people, when in reality the middle is like a normal person, a normal Irish person, a normal person, voter for Mayo, right, will say, well, no, a person who just arrived here doesn't just get to say they're Irish. Same way you wouldn't get to be Chinese if you landed in Beijing.
Well, if I were born in Nigeria, I'm not instantly a Nigerian.
No.
If I'm born in China, I'm not Chinese. And even if you marry Chinese, or maybe your children would be considered so. Maybe not, depending on the culture you're in. But so I don't know why it should be so different for us.
And like, even if you were born in Nigeria to Irish parents, expats or whatever you want to call it, you might say, well, I am Nigerian, but a Nigerian, a Igbo person or whatever might say, you are Nigerian, but I'm Nigerian in another way, a kind of a more...
Some of that's okay.
Some of that is okay, right? Some of that is okay once it's nuanced and whatever. But now we have this thing I see a lot lately, where if you ask someone who's visibly from abroad, right, in some description, someone who's not,
they're blonde.
No, but you know,
you're a Swede.
Like it's the thing of if you ask somebody, so where are you from originally?
Yeah, and it shouldn't be an offensive
grave
question.
Offense.
Yeah,
right.
It shouldn't be.
this kind of stuff is what is really undermining our identity. It's not a little bit of immigration here or there. That's fine to some extent. But and actually, I'm going to stop rambling because I do have a good question for you. Is that you have a very nuanced take on immigration and some of these things, and I'm actually going to go to this because so it's written about you, right? Because it's the Your Exit website. This has taught you, speaking about having been around the world, which we'll also get to, has taught you how countries prosper and preserve their cultural uniqueness through intelligent immigration policies, restricting land ownership to citizens, limited time work visas, and positively promoting the love of one's own people. Okay. That's a very nuanced take.
There's at least 3 points we can pull out.
There's many, but just that whole thing.
Okay, do you mind if I go into it then? Okay,
absolutely.
Okay, in Thailand.
Yeah.
Right, and I spend time in Thailand. I like it, and they like me well enough. They keep letting me in, right? But in Thailand, okay, if you want to buy, say, a condo, just a nice an apartment in a condominium building, 50% of the building must be owned by Thais.
Wow.
And it makes perfect sense.
And I say wow as if it's a shock, but that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. The idea that you're not ending up with ghettos of foreigners. It doesn't happen. You get a nice integration thing going. It doesn't screw up the property rates and things. So if foreigners come in with lots of money, they can buy up a building and all the and they put a cap on that. You won't let it happen. The other thing is you can't buy land. You can get freehold, and then there's leasehold. So you can have the property for 90 years or something. But you're not getting to take it away from the pool of land in the country. So this is one of my pet peeves thing. The idea we've got multinational companies coming into this country and just buying up property. Yeah. And it's lost to us forever. Yeah. So the idea is that other countries go, oh, we're not having it. And they say, nope. And they make it law, and that's the end of it. So I wouldn't mind even if we were having companies come in and leasing land for however long that we think it's necessary or desirable. But the idea that they're purchasing it, I mean, the Chinese could buy farmland here. They could buy the whole country here. Yeah. Very easily.
And are doing so.
And are doing Australia. And that's all over the place.
And it's strange because that thing of you wouldn't want a Chinese person who's just going about their business in Ireland to be bullied individually, right? Of course, obviously, right? But what the narrative they'll spin is that you wouldn't want that. Therefore, shut up about the Chinese state, the CDC, or whatever they're called, the Chinese government buying up the country. There's this conflation where this social rule now dictates our country.
Yeah. I don't think they even believe it anymore. I think they're just using it. When they're saying things well, then you must be racist. I don't think they really even believe the arguments. And if they do, they shouldn't by now. Yeah. The other one that you were mentioning there was the property and the 5-year visa thing.
Yeah, I was going to.
Okay, on a 5-year visa, we do need some immigration. Whatever any purist might feel about the country, we need people here. We need some anyway. Whatever we decide on that option, but just because someone comes here to work, doesn't mean they should necessarily have the right to live here forever. Just because you get a job. So the idea is you could let people into the country for 5 years. Choose your number, 5 years. That gives people enough time to gain skills, help us. Yeah. They can send money home, but they're doing it with the idea that they know the time is limited. And it also changes birthrights and all that kind of stuff. So everybody wins. Yeah. And then you get another group of people that can come in, and you're helping them as well. Yeah. So it's not anti-charitable. Yeah. It's actually helping more people,
of course,
by doing it this way. And this is basically what the Japanese do.
Okay, well, and it's and we will get to Japan, but it's if someone flies or comes to Ireland to work, the argument will be that we need workers from, and I know you've made that argument, but let's say the far left and globalists will make that argument much more cynically. They will say we need that, therefore citizenship, therefore everything else. Right?
Why does that follow?
Exactly. Yeah. Why does it go from that to that?
Well, it doesn't in any of the countries I've worked in.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. Yeah. And even if an Irish person goes to Australia, that doesn't apply. Yeah. So it's
it's an agenda thing. It's just push, and it's not what they're talking about. It's the thing behind what they're talking about that they're going for.
And I think a lot of people who were previously kind of left, and I'm meeting a lot of these people who were kind of traditionally saw themselves as left wing. And there was a time when I kind of did too, right? And but a lot of people who were earlier on in that phase now, I think, would really appreciate what you're getting at here, because they don't believe in the extremist thing, and there's so much confusion in the middle that they need a reasonable voice like yours as well to explain
Well,
Your
I would
point
like
of
to
view
be
on
the
it.
reasonable voice, but like
So.
as far as the left wing things, like when I was a young man, the left were the good guys. I mean, the right were Bush and all of these people, like, and I would not have been a great fan of these at the time. So like, it was really hard, kind of, to be with the cool kids and not be leftist. But the idea is that was at that stage of the program.
Yeah.
And now the program has shifted into something else, and I think enough even people of my generation are like,
I think so.
I'm not on that board.
And a lot is because you mentioned Bush, and the other side of Bush is Blair, the alliance, right? But Blair was apparently but he was New Labour, so ostensibly he's left, right?
New Labour.
And then ostensibly George Bush is on the right somehow, but he had large immigration programs and all of these various things. So I think the left-right thing, the way we used to see it, just has to die.
It's gone. Yeah.
Now about Japan, and yeah, mostly Japan. You've been around the world quite a bit.
I would never say I've been to a bunch of countries.
Okay.
I think on the thing, I actually had to count them.
Is it 18?
I've worked and lived. You have to tell me. I think I've worked and lived in like 6.
Yeah.
And I've visited about 24 more, something like that.
Okay, I don't want to stare at this too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 6 and
but I
24
like other cultures. I like being with other people from other cultures.
Yeah.
I like that they treat me well, and I like to spend time with them and hang out.
And if you go to, let's pick Ghana or Japan or wherever, right? If you want to go to that culture, if you arrive to that place and it's a completely heterogeneous, I think is the word, country. It's completely kind of who knows what, and the culture is the same, the people are the same, and the food is kebab and pizza. You're not going to another culture anymore. So it's obviously the case that diversity is a little bit of distinction as well, and a little bit of heritage and culture distinct to places.
Well,
would you agree?
The ones I can speak best on would be Japan and South Korea.
Okay.
I was working there, living there, and teaching there for years.
Yeah.
So like I can speak about that.
Yeah.
But these are two of the most homogenous countries in the world at this stage, and they invite people in to work. If they think you're a valuable worker for what they need, they let you stay longer. But they've got all kinds of rules about, especially for like, shall we say like cabaret artists and people that they want working in kitchens, or they're McDonald's people. They have very different rules for these things. I happen to be lucky because I'm a Westerner, and
you're not a cabaret.
We can. That's another conversation.
Okay, yeah. Next time, yeah.
Actually, it's not another conversation. I used to be in a rock band for years,
Close enough.
But so they have the rules about what they want, but it's all to suit the people of the country.
Yeah.
It's not to suit the agenda of the UN. It's not to suit the agenda of some particular party. It's what's good for us. So like that's where I always come down to. It's like what's good for us, and that should be determined by the people here. That's probably my main reason for being in the Irish Freedom Party, because there's the anti-EU agenda. So that's where I think we ought to be able to make our own rules, make our own laws, control our destiny as much as we can.
You know what? It just strikes me that how surprising it is that these issues are left to IFP and National Party and some others, right? But it's shocking that there's such uniformity among the other parties. You would think Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, one of them would say, we're going to have a nuanced policy on immigration. But no, they have the one uniform, pretty much open borders policy. Yep. And it's just this kind of doctrine. It's weird, isn't it?
I don't think it's that weird anymore. It's pretty much established. I mean, these people have bought into that system. They're gaining from that system. I mean, they're not going to feel much of the effects of what they're doing. So they're quite happy to go along with it. And maybe some of them even believe it's in our best interest. We just, on our side of things, are just saying, no.
See,
we want our country kind of to be our country.
See, I kind of think about these established parties that, like, whether they believe it or not, I don't so much think it's about that. I feel like there's this kind of multinational hand behind a lot, the way countries seem to be running these days, Western ones anyway. You have mentioned multinationals and the role they play. Do you have any feeling on that? Like, basically, is Ireland run by multinational companies now?
Well, there's all sorts of strings that we don't always know about. But like, I mean, I only know what I read on the internet at this stage, and it would sure seem so. I mean, the amount of property that multinational companies are buying up in this country, right there. That's it. If you go into Dublin now, and like these things are just popping up, and who's going to be there? Yeah, it's going to be people they're bringing in to working at their own multinational corporations and driving up the property values and keeping Irish people not able to buy any property in the town anymore. So I'm against it. I mean, even as an old lefty, you should be against these things, But But the world we're in now, it's getting all mixed up.
Yeah, and nobody drives past, let's say, the Dundrum shopping centre. All of these various shopping centres are in the place. Nobody ever, and naturally, but people don't drive past those and go, I wonder who owns that. You know, and if people did more of that, you might, and you kind of Googled it, you'd be shocked to find out. You go, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
You know,
but we're supposed to accept this. Is this just the new way? And then if you're against this, you're being retro.
You have a problem, yeah.
Yeah, and I do have a problem.
Yeah,
otherwise I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
You know? I have a big problem with this.
But like, you know, it is just a strange thing how you are diagnosed almost for questioning why do they own that, and it's like, what's your problem?
Yeah, why do you care?
Who hurt you?
Yeah.
You know, who hurt you? Kind of thing. But just back to Japan. Japan is a rather homogenous country and
really low crime.
That too, yeah. A huge coincidence.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow.
But, you know, the counter-argument people give for Japan is, and this is just me being devil's advocate, they have high work or age dependency ratio, so they're running out
of... The demographics are horrible.
Yeah. Therefore, they need mass immigration, or they have... I'm just going to list out a bunch of things. Yeah. Suicide, the hikikomori, I think it is... debt to GDP ratio, all of these various things.
Yeah.
When people just throw a bunch of problems at you to counter the argument that Japan is like a modern country without mass immigration, what do you say to those kind of things?
It's temporary.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is, my argument is always like, Ireland is a country that has an economy. We are not an economy. We have to have an economy that suits the people in it. And as the world changes, that has to change. That's why I'm not particularly like down hard on or strict on whether we're strict capitalists or how socialist we should be. I want what works.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm sort of a practical person when it comes to this.
Yeah.
So when Japan is looking at it, whatever demographic issues they have, it's going to last for 50 years. And downscaling the population, what's the problem with that? It's gonna cause a hiccup in the pension plans and all that. Yes, it will, but that doesn't mean you change everything for this one stupid decision or the economic situation that you had for 5, 15, 20 years. This is a culture that's been going for thousands of years. You don't just change everything for one blip. And that's what I think we're doing in Ireland, and why some of us want to stop it.
And there is no going back from it, you know, once it, like, I mean, it's not that there's no going back from it, but it's not some kind of tax policy you can just change again.
Yeah.
Back and
but even with Japan, like, they're going to lose like 20% of the population. But like, I thought all the Greens would be happy about this.
Yeah.
You know, okay, I did make a little video about this today. That is, when I was a young man, they told us this is what we should do. Have 2 kids, everything's going to be beautiful, jobs for everybody and all that stuff, and it's all going to be gorgeous. And then how come, what's going on now? You know, so with Japan, okay, they're going to lose 20% of the population, and that'll cause big ructions in the system. And then it will pass. They might bring in people, more and more people to work. They might build more and better robots for a while. But they'll adjust, and they'll do it their way at least. But I mean, they are bringing in more people now. I mean, but that's up to them too.
Yeah, I think my tuppence on that is that, I mean, we go our road and Japan goes its road of, let's say, automation, and they get over their hiccup, and we deal with the hiccup in our way, which is like mass immigration and multinationalism.
And it's going to cause other problems.
Yeah, and I would say on balance, both of those, we're probably taking the higher risk factor. So like, it doesn't make sense on that basis. I think I've seen as well as property prices dropping in Japan. And now I'd have to verify this a bit more, but people do say that now outside of Tokyo probably, but in certain situations property is dropping.
Okay, this is go somewhat back to what we're doing. Anybody can go to Japan and buy property.
Oh,
you can buy that. You can buy the house. You can't live in the country, but you can buy the house. Buying a house doesn't guarantee you a right to live in the country, so you can go in there and you can buy.
Really?
Yeah.
For what? Could you rent it?
Well, I mean, you can rent it, but then the tax rates are different. Like in Ireland, if you live in the country, the tax rates are different than if you're living abroad. So you can go in there, you can buy as many houses as you like, and you can rent them. You'll get taxed accordingly. You know, so
there's a reason I think why that is still better than what we have. Is like, you could do that, but why would I do that in a declining population?
Right.
It's going to be of lower value. Whereas landlords in this country, whether they're indigenous Ghanaian landlords or whether they're multinationals who have spreadsheets of thousands of houses, they say, we have these properties, now we need to inject a lot of people into this country, raise the prices.
There you go. That's the difference. But the thing is, like with Japan, the older houses, like younger people are moving into apartments, and the same thing is happening with the countryside. People are leaving the countryside and moving to the cities. But if you have property right now in the cities, as people are dying, more and more properties will come available. So if you have something like an older house maybe that nobody wants anymore, well, then the price is really going to drop because the younger people will want the nicer apartments, and there will be more of them available. So the prices will adjust accordingly again. So that's the danger with if you're planning on investing in the Japanese real estate market.
No, I wish I could consider that even like.
But no, you can buy houses cheap, like 20,000, if you want to. They'll be in the countryside. It's kind of like out here. You can buy the houses. They'll be lovely. You can visit.
But they'll be. I won't be able to rent it to a bunch of immigrants who've been injected into there to raise the prices, and nor will I be able to live there necessarily. Well, so it's not the same catch that we have in Ireland, is it? Like,
no, but as we were discussing with the if you have an Irish passport, you can just drop in and you can spend months in Japan. Yeah, it's very handy. Yeah, it's very nice. It's very expensive to live in Japan now.
It sounds like it's not hugely to the detriment of Japanese people, in the same way as ours is.
But the thing is, there it's pretty much the government probably won't do anything to hurt the people. Right now, we seem to be working against the people that should be protecting us from this. This is one of the reasons why I got into this. I suppose I was of the impression that the Irish government would never sell us out that bad. Yeah. And that was the stupidest thing I ever thought. Because history, if nothing else, would show us that governments do not look after the best interests of the people all the time. And especially in Ireland for the last, so many years, I was naive. Yeah. And I feel foolish for trusting. Because, like I said, I've spent a lot of time out of the country. I thought things were just going on as normal. I'd fly into Dublin, I'd get on Houston, and straight back to Westport. I didn't see what was happening. Right. And unless you're really going out of your way to, do the research and go down the rabbit hole, like everybody we're trying to canvas to, a lot of people just kind of don't get it yet. People and they certainly don't get the agenda that's coming with it. Yeah. So.
And people on in the politics I'm interested in, let's say dissident nationalist politics, are often trying to purify the kind of the thought, get the ideology just perfectly right, working on it internally almost. And it's like there are huge masses of people who haven't even heard the first thing about this. So time could be well spent reaching people, and I think that's where we started on the elections. If nothing else, are just a great opportunity to reach ordinary people. Yeah,
and I like that it's scattergun all over the country. That it's not just concentrated only in Dublin. There are nationalist, candidates all over the country. I wish them all well. I have no issues with anybody else. I hope everybody does really well. But I think it's great. So now if they're looking at the maps, they're going to have to include us. So.
And you have this issue of what's strange to me is that we had a recession, and that was the bad point apparently, because we all live in GDP world now, where apparently that's what we all that's our kind of deity at the moment, or we've been kind of trained that way. But you had the recession, that was the bad part, and then our economy has gone up, our GDP has gone up, so everything's great now. But actually, it's for as many people it's worse than it was then, because if you're in Dublin, property prices, or Cork or Galway, wherever, property prices are through the roof, and you're young and you can't start a family, everything else, right? And if you're a farmer in the countryside, you can't get a good price for your beef because 2.5 billion goes to Larry Goodman's bank account. So everybody's got their back against the wall. So I feel like it's time for some politics to happen. Yeah. I think the opportunity, really, like you said, people haven't heard of it, but I think people are ready to hear it now.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is the awakening. I mean, it's been building up. People like you have been doing it. There's lots of people been building this thing up, and maybe now. Yeah. It'll be some sort of a popping of this bubble. Yeah. Give an outlet for people to go, well, actually, I kind of side with these guys. Yeah. And there wasn't anybody to side with before. Yeah. I mean, Sinn Féin was the closest you gotten. And that was it. And so.
Very a long story. Yeah, it's confusing. I have, again, national kind of people I politically align with from other countries will message me to be like, give me a quick rundown of the politics in Ireland. And they go, what? And they kind of know about the Republican thing, so they go, Sinn Féin, I've heard of Sinn Féin, what's that? Are they nationalists? Because they think they're nationalists. And I go, every time I'm asked that, I kind of go, it's really hard to describe.
It's complicated.
But they certainly aren't nationalists, I think, fit for purpose in 2020.
Not anymore. I mean, I would have had great sympathy for Sinn Féin for most of my adult life, but the thing is that you're presented with an image. And then after a while, you accept it, and then you have to start thinking, actually, they're up for all kinds of things I'm not up for. I don't want the open border thing that they seem to be espousing now. So I'm out. I'm out. Obviously, I'm out. You know.
I think I'll let you go there because you're busy enough. So
okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for the time.
I wish you luck with canvassing and with going around and with the actual election day itself. And again, you know, this is, I think you touched on it a second ago, that you're putting yourself out there, whether it's IFP or National Party, as just another option. So it's like there is another option. So making people aware of that.
Yep, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Actually, we're trying to win, but I'll take the awareness.
Oh, take the win, like, but so I was going to say any final words, but that's a bit ominous.
I'm fine with that. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
So the awkward bit, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, everything else.
Ding.
Thank you for watching. See ya.